Crossrail involves one of the largest archaeology programmes undertaken certainly across London. To date we've investigated some 40 different sites representing the different periods of history of the entire sequence of London, from the early prehistory and Ice Age right through the Roman city and medieval finds up to the more recent industrial history of London. We're here at the Crossrail Liverpool Street construction site, and we're excavating part of the Bedlam burial ground. During the early part of next year, we're going to be spending 5 months here with the archaeology team excavating the Bedlam burial ground and then the levels of the Roman city, which lie several metres below us here. The Bedlam burial ground that we're excavating here in Liverpool Street provides an indication of the scale. We've got something like 3,000 skeletons to remove when we get to the main works here next year. The burial ground is particularly important because it's a period of London's history from around the mid-1500s to around the early 1700s. We know from historic records that probably up to 10,000 individuals were buried here, but because this burial ground was outside the confines of a local church, we don't have a single parish register. A volunteer project we're currently undertaking is to really try and find out exactly who is buried here at Liverpool Street, and the Bedlam Burial Ground project is working with volunteers from right across London to list everyone we can from the historic records who's been buried here. Liverpool Street has one of the most remarkable archaeological sequences because it dates all the way back to the early Roman period. Some of the earliest finds we've had are Roman skulls that we discovered in the River Walbrook.
We've now got such a good collection of Roman skulls, to be honest. We must have remains of at least 20 at the moment. So we're hoping to do some research on those just to find out more about those individuals. So that's a really good collection for that kind of analysis.
Excavating one of the Crossrail construction shafts right on the edge of Charterhouse Square itself, we came across an amazingly well-preserved archaeological site. 25 burials, buried about 3 metres below the ground level, and this location historically is within the area that we think was associated with one of the emergency burial grounds of the Black Death set out in 1348. I mean, this site is one of the most important archaeological sites we've got because the period of the Black Death, the mid-14th century, is not well understood through archaeological excavation. It's quite a rare opportunity to find an archaeological site that is so well preserved. At Westbourne Park we had evidence for one of the earliest sites, a filled-in river channel dating to around 70,000 years ago, and within those river channel fills we found a huge collection of animal bones indicating the pristine wilderness really that London was during that last part of the Ice Age, with great herds of bison and reindeer roaming the landscape. The southeast section of Crossrail, which crosses either side of the River Thames, gives us a chance to look at some prehistoric landscapes that are now buried metres below the current floodplain. One of the most important finds there has been a group of flint artefacts that date to around 10,000 years ago, the Mesolithic period, and we have evidence there for a small temporary hunting camp was set up there by a group of early hunter-gatherers. Of course, the history of London isn't just the prehistoric origins and the Roman and medieval periods, but London played a very important role, of course, in the Industrial Revolution. And the site at Limoux, where we've excavated parts of the Thames Ironworks and Shipbuilding Company site, played a hugely important part in London's economic development in the 19th century. There we found evidence for one of the great slipways where ships that were constructed for the world's navies were built and launched from. So the archaeological excavation on site is just one part of the project for us. Bringing that story to the members of the public, obviously, is a very important part of Crossrail's legacy. And through preparing exhibitions and also undertaking a number of community projects, we're able to share these finds directly with the public and the people of London. We're about 3/4 of the way through the archaeology programme on Crossrail, and with still another year to go, we look forward to bringing you some exceptional new finds during the next 12 months.